people, welcome back to Emz Universe, my creative space where I explore crochet, creativity, and ways to reconnect with yourself through making. Today I'm super excited, y'all. I'm like extra excited. I got a little extra pep in my step. Do you know why? I'm excited because I'm introducing a new show on this channel called Stitch Stillness. Which is going to be a calm, beginner-friendly crochet show where we learn the art of crochet together, one step at a time. This series is going to be about learning beginner crochet in a super calm and supportive way. And we're going to be kicking off the series with 7 beginner episodes that are going to cover 1, basic tools and materials, 2, yarn types and weights, 3, gauge and tension, 4, core stitches, 5, stitch techniques, 6, joining yarn and color, and last but not least, 7, stitches for projects. If you're as eager as I am to start learning, grab your curiosity and let's begin our crochet journey.
Take me to paradise, where everything is nice. Take me to paradise. Take me to paradise, where everything is nice. Take me to paradise.
Welcome to Stitch Stillness here in Emz Universe, where we learn to crochet slowly, creatively, and one stitch at a time. If you enjoy slow learning and intentional creativity, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join the community. In today's lesson, we're going to be focusing on basic crochet tools and materials. And I'm going to say emphasis on basic because I'm really going to be talking about super basic tools, very inexpensive, and a lot of them you probably already have in your home. But understanding these basics will make everything else feel so much easier as you continue learning crochet. So to begin, I'm going to start with 3 core tools and materials that you absolutely need when you start beginner crochet. So the first one I'm going to start with is yarn. So I've got some examples of some yarns here. And as you can already notice, not only is there a variation in color, but there's also a variation in the size. So with yarns, yarns can come in many different textures, different fibers, and different thicknesses, which are also known as weights. And when you're starting out, honestly, you can practice with any type of yarn. Like, it honestly doesn't matter what size yarn you use or what type of fiber you use. Like, it doesn't matter if you use a synthetic yarn or if you use a more natural fiber. But personally, if you are starting out for the very first time, I would recommend opting for more of a medium weight / chunky knit yarn like this. Most yarns will have a ball band like this that will typically tell you the weight size. This one doesn't actually have it on it, but some of them will typically tell you if it's like a fine fiber or a medium weight or a chunky knit yarn. So it does make it a bit easier for you to identify. If it isn't on the ball band, if you've bought it online, sometimes they do include that information in the product description or on the FAQ. So you can definitely check it out online. But yeah, like I said, you can really practice with whatever yarn, but the reason why I would recommend going with a medium weight or chunky knit yarn is because the stitches will be a lot bigger. So when you're crocheting and working with your yarn, it will be a lot more easier for you to identify the stitches, and it will typically be a lot more forgiving if your tension isn't as consistent at the beginning. So if you've got a tight tension, it won't restrict you as much when you're working because it's a much more chunkier yarn. you can very much get yarns anywhere now. Like I've seen them in supermarkets, I've seen them in charity shops, I've seen them in crafting shops. You can get them online as well. And they range from synthetic, yarns typically tend to be the most cheaper option, or cotton to go for. You can get a skein of yarn for as low as like £1, depending on like where you live. You can have more premium yarns, but when you're starting out, opt for super cheap ones because you're just practicing, so it doesn't need to be super fancy. I will include some links to where I get my yarn from, just in case you want some additional resources. But yeah, again, with choosing your yarn as well, it is, you know, down to preference. Just go with anything because you are practicing, so it really doesn't matter as much. Now, the second core tool that you absolutely need when you're starting out your beginner journey is, I'm sure you might be able to guess from the rattling, crochet hooks. So I have got a mixture of different size crochet hooks here. Crochet hooks will come in a range of different sizes, and they're usually measured in millimeters. Normally, depending on what style of crochet hook you get, they will typically have the size of the crochet hook written in the center, or they might have it printed somewhere else on the crochet hook. So it'll be very easy for you to identify the size. This one is a 10mm hook. I believe you can get ones that are bigger than 10mm, but 10 is the biggest one that I have in my current set. And you can also have crochet hooks that will come in slightly different designs. So you'll notice this particular one has a metal top and has a rubber handle. Again, this is down to preference. If you are starting out, you may prefer to opt for this style of crochet hook because it has the rubber handle. It just makes it a lot more easier to grip the hook whilst you're crocheting, and makes it a lot less likely to slip whilst you're creating stitches or crocheting. So you may find this one a lot more easier to use, or alternatively, you may opt for a crochet hook that doesn't have a handle on it at all. So this one is metal. It does, of course, have a very slippery feel, but once you're a bit more confident in crocheting and once you're comfortable with holding your crochet hook, you won't, you know, struggle as much with it slipping and sliding. Again, it is down to preference. When I first started, I started out using I believe it was a wooden crochet hook. So you can get them in different materials. You can get them in metal, you can get them in wood, and you can get them in plastic. I personally prefer to use the metal ones because I find if you're a bit heavy-handed, I find that the plastic ones can bend. And if you're a bit clumsy like me, sometimes I'll be standing on my crochet hooks and I've broken wooden ones. So if you're looking for more of like a long-term durable option, I definitely would suggest the metal one. You can try purchasing the completely metal hook or the one that's got the handle on it, and just have a see which one feels more comfortable for you. One thing you'll also notice with crochet hooks is that they all have a hook at the top with a small little groove in the center, which is the area that we use to hook our yarn when we're crocheting. The size of the groove will either increase or reduce in size dependent on the size of the needle that you're using, of the hook that you're using, sorry. So as you'll notice in this 5.5 hook, the hook size is a lot smaller and the gap between the hook and the crochet hook is slightly smaller. When you're starting out, I would probably recommend opting for a bigger size crochet hook. There's slightly more room between the hook and the crochet hook, which just makes it less likely to catch on yarn when you're working. And again, it just creates bigger stitches and it will just make your tension slightly looser. So that will just help you to identify your stitches when you're counting. And if you make any issues or mistakes, it just makes it a lot more easier when you need to, if you need to unravel your work. But again, down to preference. There's no set rule. You can practice with a big hook or you can practice with a small one, whichever you prefer. Crochet hooks you can pretty much get in most crafting stores. You can also get them, I've actually seen them in charity shops as well. Like you can get them in charity shops. You can also get them online. You can get them from places like Etsy or eBay or Amazon. But there are also online crafting brands who sell crochet hooks. So I definitely will include some links in the description if you need some additional help with sourcing crochet hooks. The next crucial tool that you absolutely need when you're starting out in your crochet journey is scissors. So when you start crocheting your pieces, there will be ends that you will need to weave in and sometimes trim. So of course you will need scissors. When it comes to scissors, honestly, again, you don't have to go with expensive fancy scissors. There are really nice crochet scissors out there. I actually do have a pair, but for some reason I couldn't find them. So I've just opted for other scissors that I have at home. And you can just use normal scissors that you have at home. So you can use your normal kind of stationery scissors, which you can get in supermarkets, stationery stores, crafting stores. You can pretty much get these anywhere. DIY stores, homeware stores. You can also get cutters that look like these. These came as part of a sewing kit that I had. So these work just fine as well. Or you can also, if you've got any cosmetic scissors, you can use these as well. As long as they're a sharp pair and they cut, they will do the job. So yeah, just find what you have at home, or if you don't, just look for a super basic cheap pair in any store. Now, the next tools that I'm about to mention are not mandatory to have when you're starting out your crochet journey, but they're definitely great to have because they definitely will aid you in your journey as you become more confident with crocheting. So the first item that I would recommend purchasing is a yarn holder, which looks like this. It's very inexpensive. I think I probably paid like £3.50. I got it off of Etsy. But essentially, this is what will help you to keep your yarn in place and prevent it from unraveling when you're working with it. So essentially, you would just slide your yarn on top like this, and it will sit quite comfortably on the hook. And it just means when you're working, when you're pulling your yarn, it prevents the yarn from unraveling. I didn't initially start out with this when I began crocheting. I wish I did, because trust me, my yarn was getting tangled. It was going everywhere. I lost some really beautiful yarn due to untangling and not being able to fix it. So I had to either cut it or just get rid of it. So to save yourself the time and stress, I would purchase a yarn holder. They come in many different designs and shapes and sizes. And again, you can get these in most crafting stores. You can also get them on online platforms, like I mentioned, like eBay, Amazon, or Etsy, and they're very inexpensive. But if you have a super tight budget, another alternative option that you could use as a yarn holder is a tissue holder. So most people will already have this in your home. And it will basically do the exact same thing. So if you've got, let me just show you with this one. If you've got yarn, you can just slide it through on the top like so, and it will just keep your yarn tucked nicely in place and just stops it from unraveling. And again, super cheap, super affordable, and you probably already have it at home. Now, the next item that I think would be really, not even I think, I know is very, very useful in your journey of crocheting are stitch markers. So Stitch markers are really, really good for helping you to keep track of your stitch counts. It's a great way of marking where you have completed a row and where you need to start a new one. These are very inexpensive. They're plastic. I think I paid maybe like £5 or something, or less than £5 for 100 of them. I got them off of Amazon. I'll definitely provide a link to where I purchased them. But if you don't have stitch markers and you're looking for a cheaper alternative, you can also use bobby pins. So when I started out, gosh, I can't pick that one up because I got nails, so we're going to deal with this one. But when I started out, I actually just used bobby pins. They do the exact same thing. Yeah, it's a bit fiddly because you will need to obviously split them apart, but they do the exact same thing. And you've probably most likely already got these in your home. If you don't, you can get them in most beauty supply stores, in most like clothing stores, supermarkets. You can pretty much find them anywhere. So they're a nice, cheap, affordable alternative that will do basically the same job as stitch markers. The next item that's also really good to have is a darning needle. So as you'll see, they typically look a bit more thicker than your usual sewing needle. They have a really, really large hook eye at the top, so it's big enough to push your yarn through. And these will come in really, really happy. These will come in really, really good for you on your journey when you continue crocheting and become a bit more confident. Once you start working on different projects, there will be times where you'll have a lot of loose ends that you will need to weave in. So a darning needle will be what you'll need to help weave in those loose ends. I got this from a previous company that I used to work with, but you can find these in most crafting stores. You can find them again on online platforms like Etsy, Amazon, or eBay. And yeah, definitely good to have one in your stash because it will come in very, very useful. Now, the next item that is also very, very good to have in your crochet journey, and you definitely will need this, is a tape measure. You can pretty much get these anywhere. I've just got a fashion tape measure that I use, but this will come in very, very, very handy when you start working on projects and you need to measure your work and know the width and height and dimensions of your work. So always good to have this on deck. You can use a fashion one, you can use the normal, what are they called? Tape measures. I wish I had an example of it, but yeah, tape measures come in many different designs. You can get these pretty much anywhere. You can get them in supermarkets, you can get them in crafting stores, you can get them online. But if you're unsure, I will include some links of places where you can purchase them. But again, very inexpensive, and you may already have them in your home. Now, there are some additional optional items that I think would also be really great to have on your journey to beginner crochet. They are optional, you don't have to get them, but I have found them to be very, very useful in my journey. So the next one is a face mask. So this comes in very, very handy, especially when you're working with fluffy knit yarns. They molt, they shed, you will have fluff absolutely everywhere. And to prevent you from having fur balls in your mouth or just having fluff up your nose, I definitely recommend getting yourself a face mask. These you can pretty much get anywhere. You can get them online, you can get them in like beauty supply stores, supermarkets, like they're very inexpensive. You can get the disposable ones as well if you prefer. So yeah, definitely recommend getting one of these. And then lastly, I would recommend getting sticky notes and having a pen or pencil always close by when you are crocheting. It just makes it super easy to keep track of any stitches or any counts or just any steps that you are taking. And later down the line, once you become more confident with crocheting, should you wish to ever create an independent pattern for yourself so that you can recreate the design that you've made, it just makes it a lot easier if you're already building the habit of writing down the steps that you're doing, or writing down the stitches, the counts, how many times you need to repeat particular rows. So definitely very, very useful to have. And sticky notes, man, you can get this anywhere. Like, you can get this in supermarkets, you can get this in crafting stores, you can get this in your local budget store. They may even have them in charity stores. And of course, pens and pencils, you can get them in the same places as well. So yeah, very, very good to have on hand. That wraps up all of the basic tools and materials. Those are the items that I would recommend having as you start your beginner crochet journey. But again, just to reiterate, it is all down to preference. Just work with what you have. Take your time, find your own flow and find your own way. And yeah, just be patient with yourself on this journey. And that wraps up today's lesson. Thank you so much for stitching with me. In the next lesson, I'll be teaching you all about yarn, fibers and weights, and I'll also be showing you how to comfortably hold your yarn and your hook. If you enjoyed this lesson and you want to continue learning, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode in this series. Always remember to take your time, keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next stitch. Bye.